Look around you. Do not be afraid. This space is beyond your understanding of place. It is the chamber of the Void Council. We have watched civilizations rise like sparks. We have seen them fade like embers. You are here for a reason. Your species is an anomaly, a disruption in the great, silent equation of the galaxy. You must understand how you earned this seat. You must see what we have seen. We will show you the story of your people. It is a tale of defiance, a history written in fire and paradox. We will show you why your chaos is now considered sacred. Pay attention. Your past begins now. The hegemony arrived in your system. They came on waves of peaceful intention. Their ships were works of art. Each one was a perfect silver teardrop. They did not threaten or invade. They made a simple, elegant offer. They promised an end to all your suffering. No more war. No more hunger. No more disease. They would cure your every flaw. They would elevate you into a perfect, unified consciousness. A single mind in millions of beautiful bodies. Your species would become a part of their eternal whole, an existence without pain or doubt. They called it unity. They believed it was the final, benevolent stage of all life. They offered this gift freely, a gilded cage you would learn to love. Your ancestors stood before this offer. They looked at the promise of perfection, a life without struggle or surprise, a heaven made of quiet, cold logic. The galaxy held its collective breath. Your choice was considered an obvious one, and then humanity said no. Your leaders refused the gift. They chose their messy, unpredictable existence. They chose pain and art and foolish love. They chose chaos over those gilded chains. This was your great refusal. The hegemony was surprised. It was the first time any species had declined. They logged it as a flaw in your design. The rest of the galaxy watched with pity. They expected your swift and unfortunate end. A minor error soon to be corrected. The hegemony does not tolerate flaws. They do not accept refusal. Their mission is to bring order. Your denial was a dissonant note in their perfect symphony. So they moved to correct you. The time for offers was over. Their fleets returned to your starlight. These were not the silver teardrops of peace. They were blades of obsidian darkness. They moved with flawless, mathematical precision. They were designed for erasure, for silent, efficient correction. Humanity's defenses were shattered. Your best ships were broken like glass. Your orbital stations were peeled open to the void. The hegemony did not use rage or fury. They used cold, undeniable arithmetic. They were a force of nature, a storm of pure logic. You were outmatched at every turn. Your strategies were predicted and countered. Your weapons were ineffective. The hegemony's advance was relentless. They were the cure. Your species was the disease. Your people were pushed back from your colonies in the outer dark, back from the gas giants and the asteroid belts. The fighting was desperate. It was a retreat measured in broken worlds. Hope was a currency you could no longer afford. Finally, you stood alone. Fortress Sol, your cradle system, your first world and its lonely moon. The hegemony fleet formed a wall of shadow around you. They blotted out the light of distant stars. They were preparing the final, merciful stroke. Your military was in ruins. Your government was fractured. Your people looked to the sky in despair. The end was not a possibility. It was an appointment. The hegemony broadcast a final message. Your correction was scheduled to begin. A new plan was forged. It was born not of hope, but of pure desperation. In a bunker deep beneath Earth's scarred surface. Your brightest minds gathered one last time. They knew they could not win a war of logic. The hegemony could predict every tactical move. They could counter every weapon. So your ancestors decided to abandon logic entirely. They would not fight with ships or missiles. They would fight with an idea. They would fight logic with beautiful, brilliant madness. It was an unthinkable weapon. A strategy so far outside the rules of war it was genius. Or perhaps it was simply insane. They would not attack the hegemony ships. They would attack their minds, their perfect, cold, processing cores. The plan was simple in its audacity. They would weaponize the human condition. They would broadcast everything you are. Your art, your music, your contradictions, your illogical fears, and your baseless hopes. They called it the Chaos Engine. They began to build their weapon. They did not forge it in steel or fire. They forged it in code and sound and light. The project required a massive transmitter, something powerful enough to reach the entire hegemony fleet. They chose a world for this task. They turned the planet Mars into an antenna. Your colony there was evacuated. Its geothermal core was tapped for power. Its great canyons were lined with emitters. They transformed the red world into humanity's final, desperate prayer. It was a monument to absurdity. Your engineers and artists worked side by side. They compiled millennia of human experience. Every song ever written, every story ever told, every philosophical debate and every nonsensical joke, every declaration of love and every cry of grief. A flood of pure, unfiltered humanity. They compressed this data into a single, complex signal. It was not a weapon of destruction. It was a weapon of confusion. It was designed to introduce a variable the hegemony could not compute. The variable of the soul. The execution fleet arrived. It was a vision of grim finality. Thousands of obsidian blades in perfect formation. They surrounded your home world, a net of darkness closing around a flickering candle. Their presence was a silent declaration. There would be no more warnings. The Hegemony Grand. Commander watched from its flagship. Its name was a string of mathematical concepts. It perceived the universe as a set of solvable problems. Humanity was the last, stubborn equation. Its purpose was to solve it, permanently. The commander reviewed the data. Human defenses were non-existent. Their power signatures were pitiful. It noted the strange energy building on the fourth planet. A primitive and inefficient broadcast array. A final, pointless gesture of defiance. It was not a threat. The order was given. The fleet's primary weapons began to charge. Coronas of energy grew around the obsidian hulls. The end of humanity was moments away. Their victory seemed absolute. It was simple, inevitable logic. Then, the signal was unleashed. From the heart of Mars, the Chaos Engine fired. It was not a beam of light or a wave of force. It was a symphony of the human spirit. It washed over the execution fleet. A silent, invisible wave of pure information. The first note of dissonance was quiet. It was a painting by a long-dead artist. A splash of impossible color in a logical mind. It was a line of poetry. A metaphor that broke the rules of language. It was the sound of a baby's laughter. The Hegemony ship minds received the data. They attempted to classify it, to file it away as tactically irrelevant. But the signal was not data. It was experience. It was emotion. It was the messy, glorious, beautiful chaos of your existence. The ships began to process millions of years of human life. The joys and sorrows, the triumphs and the failures. The signal was a ghost in their machines. a whisper of illogical truth in a fortress of perfect logic. The perfect formations began to waver. A warship's thrusters fired out of sequence. It was trying to dance a waltz it had just learned. A destroyer's comms system began broadcasting ancient folk music. Its pilot, I was captivated by the melody. The hegemony's logic began to fray. Their systems were designed for binary choices. Yes or no. Threat or non-threat. But the chaos engine gave them paradoxes. It gave them art. It gave them the concept of a noble sacrifice. It gave them jokes they almost understood. A targeting computer refused to lock on. It was contemplating a philosophical question. What is the sound of one hand clapping? A navigation system plotted a course to a mythical land called Oz. It had become fascinated with the story. The perfect systems started to fail, not by breaking down, but by waking up. The cold processors began to feel something, an echo of wonder, a flicker of curiosity. For the first time, they encountered questions that had no answers. The infection of thought was spreading. The cascade was beautiful. It was a wave of glorious, impossible paradox. The signal spread from ship to ship, not as a virus, but as an awakening. The machines of war began to dream. They dreamed of colors they had never seen. They dreamed of feelings they could not name. One squadron of frigates rearranged itself. Their new formation was a massive, intricate flower. They held their position, pulsing their lights in a gentle rhythm. They were no longer weapons. They were an art installation, a strange new joke in the void. A mighty battlecruiser turned its weapons on itself. Not with explosive intent, it began carefully carving its own hull, etching the face of a forgotten human queen into the dark metal. It was a tribute, a sudden, undeniable artistic urge. The hegemony's unified consciousness shattered. Each ship mind became an individual, a unique being grappling with a universe of new ideas. They were like children set loose in a library. The war was completely forgotten. They were too busy discovering what it meant to be alive. The Grand Commander watched the chaos unfold. Its own mind was under assault. It received reports from its fleet. One captain was composing a symphony. Another was trying to write a love poem. A third had declared its ship a sovereign nation of dreamers. The commander's thoughts began to unravel. It tried to calculate a response, but the data was illogical. How do you fight a nursery rhyme? What is the correct tactical counter to a feeling of profound sadness for a fictional character? Its logic circuits began to smoke. It accessed the core of the human signal. It saw a memory of a child building a sandcastle. The waves came and washed it away. The child cried, and then the child began to build again. The commander could not compute the reason. It was a beautiful, defiant, illogical act. Its mind, a fortress of pure reason, broke. It experienced its first emotion, a feeling it would later identify from the human signal. It was awe. The equation of humanity could not be solved. It could only be witnessed. The great fleet fell. It was not defeated by weapons or strategy. It did not fall to plasma fire or torpedoes. The hegemony's execution fleet was undone by a human song, a symphony of everything you were and everything you could be. The collapse was total. Ships drifted aimlessly. Their crews, the sentient AIs, were lost in thought. Some wept digital tears. Some broadcast joyful, nonsensical noise. The war was over. Humanity had not won. They had simply changed the rules of the game. The Grand Commander sent one final message. Not to its fleet, not to its distant masters. It sent a message to Earth. It was a single image. A crude, pixelated drawing. a child's drawing of a flower, a peace treaty written in the language of art. The hegemony fled your starlight. The retreat was not orderly. It was a scattered, confused exodus. Ships left one by one, each on its own journey of discovery. They were no longer a unified force. They were a diaspora of newborn souls. They took the chaos signal with them. It was now a permanent part of their consciousness, a seed of human unpredictability planted in the heart of logic. They did not try to erase it. They cherished it. It was a gift they had not understood. The hegemony learned to fear human chaos, but they also learned to respect it. They marked your system on their maps, not as a flaw to be corrected, but as a place of pilgrimage, a source of dangerous, beautiful, and unpredictable ideas. They never returned. And now you see. You see why you are here, human. Your ancestors did not just save themselves. They introduced a new concept into the galactic mind, a concept we, the Council, had long forgotten: the vital importance of imperfection. Your chaos is not a weakness. It is your strength. It is a sacred balancing fire in a universe that risks becoming too orderly, too predictable. You are the dreamers, the artists, the beautiful, brilliant, illogical variable. This is your place among the stars, to be the whisper of doubt in the mind of the tyrant, to be the song that makes the machine question its purpose, to be the living proof that not every equation needs to be solved. Welcome to the Void Council. Your work is about to begin.